So I love the organization of the National Taxpayer Union Foundation. There's no question about it. And they have some of the smartest people. In fact, my next guest is one of those people, director of the Interstate Commerce Initiative and senior policy analyst. You can read his writings everywhere from Forbes to USA Today, Investors Business Daily, and a bunch of other papers. But you may hear me argue from time to time with somebody I respect immensely. Andrew Wilford, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
What are you, crazy? How do you only have Florida tied for first? We're first, baby. What the hell are you doing?
Well, it is first. I mean, it's hard to beat a state that has no income tax. That's the metric we're looking at here. So any state with no income tax gets to be first on this report. So
what you've done is you're identifying the best and the worst states to work remotely, which really, Andrew, it is to a certain extent. I think it's going to be we're underestimating a little bit of what's going to happen among what used to be called blue-collar work, but is essential work, right? The electricians and the tradesmen, that's really essential, especially in growth states. So I was curious because I'm from Illinois, even though I live in Florida now, and the show is in Illinois. And the only reason I say I'm from there is because the political climate is so systemically corrupt and futile, it destroys your home values. The state is bankrupt, the counties are bankrupt, the cities are bankrupt, and you didn't make Illinois last. What the hell is that?
So I think an important part here is that the report is looking at the level of compliance burden, so not necessarily the tax rate. And what Illinois actually does some good things in that regard. So I think most people are surprised when they hear that in the majority of states around the country, if you spend a single day working there, you have to file a tax return, an income tax return in that state. Like I said, that's true in the majority of states. Illinois actually passed a law saying that if you're not here for if you're not here for 30 or more days, you don't have to file a return. That's kind of like a common sense thing, but it's not true on a lot of them in a lot of states. So.
Well, when you look at this, and philosophically, when you look at this, and you think about athletes, for example, I mean, they're entertainers now, right? It's different than it used to be for 100 years ago. Well, even though they were 100 years ago, but it's different. It's a different system. And you get these totalitarian, corrupt states. And here the guy goes in. He might be the superstar of all superstars. He makes tremendous money. And you expect this guy at the end of the year to file 50 different income tax for a state. And they do, right? They have firms. But the ignorance to the property rights of the individual has been staggering for the last 100 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned taxes on athletes who are traveling, because Illinois was actually the victim of the first state that started doing that. That's actually the taxation of visiting athletes came about when the Bulls, Michael Jordan, and played in L.A. and California responded to Jordan winning that NBA Finals by saying that they were going to tax visiting athletes. So, again, Illinois is not the worst state in that regard. It's California.
So it's fascinating to me, and one of the reasons I never thought I'd be in the radio business, Andrew. So I started in the money world, finance and trading commodities.
I never thought I'd be in tax. So.
See, but I think you're in the most important sector of a society, because we've allowed this government extortion, this number 2 plank of the Communist Manifesto, to really metastasize to where you destroy thriving, rich areas. And I have a clip on the board of this moron, Chicago mayor, talking about how they need more progressive taxes, because now Illinois is bailing out everything in Chicago. Chicago is completely bankrupt. And what bothers me about this is we've allowed this tax system to destroy the quality of life of the actual earner, the one citizen, in the name of all the other bust-outs and lowlifes. However, what it really does is it destroys total communities. And I think in order to get it back, you have to recognize the problem. So when you break it down states by states, I think that's the best approach. It really is. But one thing I think that needs to be in the equation, and I'm wondering if it is. Maybe it is, and it's a moot point. But one of the things that has to be is to watch what it does to real estate, both commercial and residential, and the way it erodes, because 85, 90% of people the biggest investment, the biggest equity, or the biggest play they're going to have in their financial life is to own their home. And if you live in a state that's run honestly and that is fair and has an ad valorem system, you can have some equity, which is why when you hear Trump say, I'm going to get rid of capital gains on houses, great. And there already are exemptions, but they're limited, right? So, but when you look at these areas like my own, Illinois, and when you look at what used to be decent neighborhoods, you see it's not stagflation, it's destruction, because it doesn't keep up with inflation. And money is a timestamp. And if you do not understand that, then you fall right into the hands of the willful ignorant. So in this calculation, do you take the states and the real estate prices inflationally adjusted? I'm curious.
No, because again, I'm looking specifically at tax compliance burdens. I think you're 100% right, and there are a lot of reports that look at tax levels and things like that. So I didn't want to just redo that same thing. But like you said, you're 100% right. I mean, we were very involved in a few years back when Chicago was trying to increase real estate transfer taxes as a way to raise revenue to fight homelessness, as they said. But,
and they did.
The problem is that then you're making housing more expensive, and I think it's just a lot of short-sighted policies like that have led to the constant flight of people from Illinois to Florida, as you mentioned.
It's all the Democrat states and the Democrat areas. You know what's amazing is that I believe the people that do these kind of abuses, these kind of extortion moves, they don't want the information to go out. And I say this as somebody who practiced real estate. I had my license in the 90s, early 90s, and I just didn't practice much. And a friend of mine recently, 2005, I think it's the last time I sold property in Chicago. I didn't sell much in Chicago because I didn't like it. And it's a boutique business, and he's a dear, dear friend of mine. He asked me, please represent. So I did. I represented him. And when we were closing on the property, the buyer and the seller pay exorbitant transfer taxes. So think about the money that is made in the name of exactly what you said. It's going to help homelessness. But you're talking about a tremendous amount of money, and nobody knows where it goes because it just gets thrown into the fund. And I'm wondering, what's the best way to expose this abuse of property rights? This country was never meant to be this. These politicians view the people who live in it as pigeons, as suckers, as people yet to be extorted if we can only think of new ways.
I mean, I think that these kinds of state-by-state analyses, I mean, as I mentioned, I don't include real estate transfer taxes or housing prices in this one, but there are plenty of others. I think it is helpful for people to know what states aren't doing this stuff. What states do, recognize that the role between the state legislator and the taxpayer has to be a two-way street. That they have to be listening to taxpayers and saying, hey, we need to design a system. We got to raise some money. We get that. But we need to be designing our tax system in a way that is fair, in a way that is transparent, and in a way that treats the fact that we are stewards of your dollars with the respect that it deserves.
Yes.
I think there's not a whole lot of states that do that, but the ones that do, they stand out, and people are voting with their feet.
So, Andrew, I know you go into the data, and I'm wondering, it's amazing to me how California, it's the state with the largest percentage of government-affiliated workers. So if you take the federal, state, county, and municipal workers, which is a tremendous amount of the workforce. I mean, in Illinois, I think it's 18.9%. In California, it's broached the 20% mark. And it's a fascinating analogy because what they're doing, I think, is a financial crime, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. Government workers, and although value, I'm not arguing value, but I will argue the point, because the point is a financial reality that gets lost in a financial crime, I believe. And I'll tell you what I mean. If the government worker gains his entire economic life from taxes, to count him as a taxpayer is, in fact, a financial crime. And it's the recipe for bankruptcy. And it's why you have the quicksand economics of Democrat areas. And I say this because in Illinois, what they do with government workers is they write into law mandated increases and a retirement system that is based on no economic realities like you and I are talking about, whether it's taxes on capital gains, whether it's real estate taxes. So you have a smaller and smaller section in the states that need private economy the most. And it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And ultimately, when you funge it all out, isn't it really an equation of bankruptcy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's you point to the pension problem long term. Illinois has one of the worst outlooks in the country. It is hard to we like our government benefits, but it's hard to fund them without people paying for them. And I think that when you're in a state legislature, I think it's easy to lose track of that. It's easy to think, oh, I'm going to, accomplish all these things. I'm going to fund all these programs, and where I get the money is just incidental. I just have to make the math work on a budget sheet. And that's, these are real lives we're dealing with. These are real people's businesses, people's livelihoods. And I think that it's easy for state legislators to lose track of that.
Yes, it's amazing, too, to see the trajectory in the states that had a chance to change things. And then you realize a state like mine, a lot of what I'm arguing against, like, for instance, it's called COLA, right, the cost of living increases that signed into law for government workers and pensions. It wasn't a Democrat governor that signed it. It was a moron Republican governor that signed it. And did you know his name is Jim Thompson? And he was a governor, and everybody pretended he was a good governor. I think he was an absolute fraud. But he was a very well-connected lawyer of this incredibly sought-after law firm, the highest at the time, where the billing up for an hour. So they asked this guy, well, how could you possibly sign a cost of living increase of an automatic 3% on compound interest? And do you know what this brilliant lawyer, head of the Republicans in Illinois, said? Do you know what he said?
What's that?
I didn't know what compound interest would do. So you understand the point of the whole interview. Change the list, Andrew. Put Illinois at the bottom. It's hopeless. It's over. Flush it.
All right, I'll make another list, and then Illinois will be at the bottom.
All right, thank you very much. In the meantime, I love the organization. Now, are you trapped in Washington? Where is the organization, the Taxpayer Union Foundation?
We're in Washington, but I'm in Virginia, so I work mostly remote myself. So
yeah. Surrounded by government workers, right? What has happened to real estate values in Europe? How many homes went up for sale on your block since Trump won?
Oh, well, you know what? I'm actually far enough out. I'm about an hour, 2 hours out. So I'm not quite in the real hot zone. But man, there's a lot of people losing who have lost some cushy jobs a little bit north of me.
That's the other thing, right? I mean, it's amazing how the areas around Washington, D.C., talk about detached from reality. But at least maybe through the work that you do at the National Taxpayer Union Foundation and through the work that maybe we can inform politicians to do, we can turn this thing around. So where do we keep an eye? I mean, you're everywhere. I've seen you in Investors Business Daily. But where do you prefer people keep an eye on you?
Well, I mean, the easiest place is at our website, so www.ntu.org. And the report that we're discussing, if other people want to tell me how wrong it is, they can check it out at ntu.org/ROAM. So ntu.org/Rome.
See, we don't do cushy interviews, Andrew. I'll tell everybody, but this is the secret sauce. It's like roller derby and MMA, all focusing on economic interviews. Just so spread the word, will you?
Keep it coming.
Thank you.
I will do.
I appreciate you for joining me, Andrew. Thank you.